as we settle down, and as we settle down quickly, in July 1969, what happened? Neil Armstrong landed on the moon. Closer home on Earth, what happened? The Woodstock happened, and live music was never the same again. Led Zeppelin released their album Led Zeppelin 1, and hard rock and heavy metal was never the same again. The Beatles gave their last public performance, and Midnight Cowboy became the first X-rated movie to win an Academy Award. It released in 1969, and the award was won in 1970. With so much happening around the world, could Bollywood miss out on the fun? So, to tell you the story of the spirit, the spice, the style, and the substance of what happened in Bollywood in the 1970s, we have this book, The Swinging 70s, edited by Shantanu Rai Chaudhuri and Nirupama Kotru. Shantanu, your book. And we have Shantanu with us today, and of course we have Maithili Rao, veteran journalist and expert in films, and she has kindly consented to contribute with one of the chapters in this anthology. Welcome, Maithili. Thank you so much for joining us. A big hand for Maithili, please. She lives in Mysore, by the way. Shantanu, without giving too much away, because I know all of it is there in the book, just tell us a little bit about how the idea of this book germinated.
Good afternoon, and thank you all of you for being here. Thank you, Mysore Literature Festival, and Shubha for inviting me, and Maithili for facilitating this, and Balaji for taking up the responsibility of moderating this discussion. 70s, I think the moment, and this is before Hindi cinema became Bollywood. You know, I still don't understand what that phrase means. This is Hindi cinema, this is not Bollywood. And 70s was a decade that defined a lot of things. He mentioned about so many things happening in 1969. What also happened in 1969 was the birth of Rajesh Khanna, the arrival of Rajesh Khanna, which changed the way we perceived Hindi cinema in this country, superstardom in this country. So, you know, growing up in the 80s, in an era where we were just going tathaiya, ho, 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 and all of that, you know, the only way to retain your sanity was to go back in time. And go back in time to दुनिया में लोगों को धोखा कभी हो जाता है, and Monica, oh my darling, and धन्नों की आँखों में, and there was no way one wouldn't be taken up by that. Just before this discussion began, I was talking to Maithili and Balaji, and I've mentioned this in passing in my 1976. I was all of 6-7 years old, and parents carrying me and my brother to a cinema hall in back of Beyond Assam, Bokajan, ramshackle film theater, and me and my brother, and half an hour walk to the theater from where we stayed, and on the way having a bhutta and a Fanta. You know, that used to be our weekly, fortnightly fix. We didn't have all of these fancy malls and anything. Going to the theater, there's an Amitabh Bachchan and Vinod Khanna movie happening, and all of a sudden Amitabh Bachchan and Vinod Khanna start doing a snake dance. You know, and I, even at 7 or 8, I am aware that Hindi films did sing and dance, but out of context, in a dramatic moment, what were they doing dancing? You know, like, I had not seen any of the Nagin films before that. I had not seen a break dance which would come 10 years down the line. I had not seen a Louis Buñuel surreal movie, so I didn't know the word surreal. But they were dancing, you know, snake-like. Only 3 minutes later, it dawned on me that it was raining heavily outside and the water was seeping through the parda. You know, so it was that kind of a cinema hall. Imagine, can anyone here imagine a theater like that in this day of a 700 rupee popcorn and 700 rupee ticket? that stayed in my mind. I've watched that film, Hera Fairy, by starring Amitabh Bachchan and Vinod Khanna, later in 1984 when Amitabh Bachchan went on a sabbatical from films for politics. And I watched Hera Fairy again last year at PVR Inox in Delhi. But that film, that experience of the 70s remains with me more than anything else. So in the 80s, when Amitabh Bachchan went on a sabbatical, and all his, older films used to be released in theaters because Hindi cinema was going through a very bad phase, video piracy, multi-starers, flopping, everything. So all his films used to come to the theater. I watched all his films in the 80s, 84, 85, Diwar, Sholay. In 86, I watched Sholay paying black tickets at 120 rupees for a 30 rupees ticket. Can you imagine, 10 years after it had released? Diwar, Sholay, Trishul, Shakti, everything that came out. And I used to come back home all angry on my parents, and my poor parents used to wonder, isko hua kya hai yaar? Matlab, where are we at fault? And this guy is just ranting, and my grandmother used to tell me, Amitabh Bachchan will be the end of this guy. He'll ruin this guy. By the end of her life, my grandmother watched first day first shows of Shahenshah and Hum with me. So, it was everything, that decade, from the music, from the fashion, and it stayed with me. Those growing up years in the 80s, those memories of walking with my parents to these films, going to watch Sholay in 76, 77. I don't know how they allowed us in, me, my mother and my brother, and my mother telling me when the famous cutting of the hands scene happens, close your eyes, close your eyes, close your eyes. So I still remember. So it was that,
And that was
that
an eye-opener for
Yeah.
this book.
Yeah. So all of that, how could you not be in love with a decade that gave you Monica,
Yeah.
Oh My Darling, that gave you the Gabbars and the Tejas and Peter, मैं ये दरवाजा तेरे pocket से
Right.
चाबी
चाबी
निकाल
निकालूंगा.
कर खोलूंगा.
You know,
and then-
yeah. And Shantanu, it was also about paradoxes. That
Yeah, yeah.
decade was about paradoxes, and Maithili has written a very good sort of chapter about it. There was a big budget, small budget, mainstream masala, parallel cinema, art, and all that.
Just
So-
imagine in the same year, you have a Jai Santoshima and a Sholay and a Andhi. You have Manmohan Desai and a Sham Benegal and any random Joginder with his Ranga Khush. I don't know if you have watched these films, but that's why I've called it swinging. It's not just about swinging with Monica, Oh My Darling. It swung from one end of the spectrum to the other.
Maithili, can you talk a little bit about the paradoxes we just mentioned?
Yeah. Because when Shantanu asked me to write about the coming of parallel cinema in this decade, and I was sort of, from the beginning, I think I did maintain a distance from the mainstream cinema. Because I watched both of them, and I wasn't writing about films as such then. But then, in living in Bombay, we could see Ankur, Bhumika, before they came to the, we had a theater called Akashwani Auditorium where we could see all these films later. And somehow I had a feeling that many people were fed up with the mainstream cinema, the regular masala film, not the Sholay, not the Diwar, not Shakti. So there was an audience waiting for something different to come. And then, but I don't think they knew what they were waiting for. And then for me, more than Bhuvan Shom and the two, the aesthetic creators of pure cinema, Mani Kaul and Kumar Shani, they belonged to a different kind of school. Then came Sham Benegal. I think he is the true pioneer. When you had these big budget films going on, he had this backing of his producers. He didn't depend on NFDC, FFC. He had his own, he could control the production of the film. And he created this repertory of wonderful actors. He discovered Smita Patil, Shabana Azmi, Nasiruddin Shah, Om Puri, and Kulbhushan Karbhanda. And you just, the repertory kept growing.
And what about Anant Nag, the famous
Yes,
Kannada hero?
Yes, Anant Nag actually came in Shyam Benegal.
He was a regular of Shyam Benegal.
Regular for Shyam Benegal, right from Ankur down to Bhumika.
Manthan,
and beyond. Yes,
Kalyug.
Manthan, Kalyug.
In fact, one of the things, if you like we talk of the R.D. Burman and the musical graph of the R.D. Burmans and the Lakshmi and Ye Mera Dil, Kalyanya, Yaar Ka Deewana and Khai Ke Paan. But one of the biggest contributions of and this is a big miss in this volume because I couldn't get anybody to write, is the music of Vanraj Bhatia.
Yeah.
Recently I was watching the re-release of Manthan, the restored print. And believe you me, that song, that theme, that instrument, when it starts playing Mara Gaon Katha
Yes,
Pare,
Mara Gaon Katha Pare.
there are very few songs that can define 2 hours of a film like that song can. And that is 1976, 1977. Banraj Bhatia was one of the greatest composers of Hindi film music. His music defined that era like as much as like R.D. Burman and Lakshmikant Pyarelal did.
Yeah. Talking about the paradox, Sholay was a paradox.
Yeah.
The other end was Jai Santoshima.
Okay.
Sholay made with a 3 crore budget fetched 38 crores. Jai Santoshima made with a 25 lakh budget, fetch I don't know how many crores, 5 crores or something. That was another paradox. Also, to your point, there were certain camps in the big budget films. For example, it was always Ramesh Behel. For Ramesh Behel, it was always R.D. Burman. And for Ramesh Sippi or for Nasir Hussain, it was always R.D. Burman and Majru Sultanpuri. For Manmohan Desai, after the first initial couple of films with R.D. Burman, it was always Lakshmikant Pyarelal. There was one partnership we need to speak about in the coming back to the mainstream or the middle of the road, Gulzar and Pancham. And that is something you have written about. Maybe I'll let both of you dwell upon that because it belongs to the mainstream as well as a little bit of the middle of the road, Gulzars.
Because the paradox was not just the extreme mainstream and the art cinema. You also had the middle cinema growing in the time. Hrishikesh Mukherjee, both the Basus, Basu Chatterjee and Basu Bhattacharya, who made very engaging films without too much melodrama. There was no villainy and very you felt that when you watched a Hrishikesh Mukherjee film, you were in a family that you knew. He was also very avuncular in his approach. When you talked to him, he seemed like a favorite uncle of yours. I mean, that was his personality, and that came through in his films. So we had not just the 2 extreme poles. I mean, in the extreme pole, you have to consider Mani Kaul and Kumar Shani, who made the films.
They were pure art house. Pure art house.
Pure art house films. And there's another interesting paradox. I met a whole lot of film institute students later. They did not like the kind of films Shyam Benegal and say Govind Nihalani made. They said these are offbeat films with a commercial edge. So, they said for them, pure cinema, art house cinema meant Mani Kaul and Kumar Shani, uncompromising films. They said, we'd rather go and watch a Manmohan Desai film than go and watch. I said, what is wrong with you guys? FTII seems to have, addled your brains that way, that you can't see that there are too many kinds of films that can coexist. So it was coexistence, maybe not cohabitation.
Exactly.
I said that was the variety, that was the paradox of cinema. And just one more point, you had Hema Malini, you had Rekha, you had Zeenat Aman and Parveen Babi, who brought in the westernized heroine. At the same time, they were very glamorous. You also had Smita Patil and Shabana Azmi and later Dipti Nawal bringing you a certain kind of reality that could be gritty, could be grim, but that also was another face of cinema people accepted. So that was the paradox for me of the 70s.
Right. Another paradox, one person who was an expert in Urdu and Hindi and his very close friend who didn't even know Hindi properly. Yet they made some classics together. Can we talk about the pair? I know we could go on for a long time, but in your own words, right from the heart.
Yeah. Shabana and Zeenat and Rekha and Hema. We also have Jaya Bhaduri. She defined stardom at one point of time. Shabana Azmi is on record actually saying that I came to cinema only because I watched a short film of Jaya Bhaduri's from the FTI called Suman, I think. Suman it was. So, and she was huge at that point of time. So anyway, coming to your question, yes, so folklore has it that the poet wrote इस मोड़ से जाते हैं and there was a word called Nasheman in it and the composer asked यार ये कौन सा जगह है नशेमन को कहाँ लोग जाते हैं you know and Gulzar said anybody who wants to find out the meaning is interested enough in the song will go and find out the meaning, don't worry about it. And a classic of Hindi cinema was born, is Mode Se Jaate Hain. You know, I came to Gulzar Saab's lyrics later, after I came to his poetry. I was infatuated with his poetry. And then one fine day, after doing a summer job, in those days you used to do summer jobs during summer vacations, 500 rupees they used to pay for a week's labor, going out, doing stuff and all of that. And one of the first things I bought was a cassette called by Gulzar, and the first song that it was another one, so I'll just remember that. So, and the first I put it on, very tired from the day in the sun and all of that, and I put it on, and a voice comes out, एक मूड एक कैफियत गीत का चेहरा होता है, कुछ सही से लफ्ज़ जड़ दो, मौजू पे लकीरों की धुनें खींच दो, एक नगमा सांस लेने लगती है, बस इतनी सी जान होती है एक गीत की, एक लम्हे की जितनी, हाँ कुछ लम्हे सालों तक याद रहते हैं. एंड देन लोग बूढ़े हो जाते हैं तो कहते हैं हाँ वो पहाड़ का टीला जब बादलों से घिर आता था तब एक आवाज़ सुनाई देती थी. एंड देन आशा भोसले कम्स इन विद फिर से आइयो बदरा विदेशी. इफ़ यू पीपल हैव नॉट हर्ड दिस सॉन्ग, go out and play it on YouTube and listen to it. I tell you, I don't believe in this life-turning moments, you know. All of life is an experience you go through, and people who say that moment turned my life, I am cynical about that. But that particular moment when he said, "Ek awaaz sunai deti thi," and Asha Bhosle does her फिर से आइयो बदरा विदेशी was a revelation. You know, that Hindi film music could be like this. And R.D. Burman, whom we were always sort of, you know, aware of all these chartbusters, you know, the Yadon Ki Baarat and, you know, Lekar Hum Deewana Dil, you know, all of that. That used to be Jawani Diwani and all of that. This man gave R.D. and he was being criticized. R.D. was being criticized कि यार इसको तो अपने father का legacy का कुछ रखा ही नहीं है.
Yeah, Western से चोरी करता है पूरा.
West से चोरी करता है, and he's spoiling the test. Dam Marudam. Can you imagine? You know, what influence is he having on the younger generation? Dam Marudam is all of that, and he can't compose. Of course, he could compose. It's just that the framework of Hindi cinema operated in a certain way. When Gulzar gave him to compose Musafir Hu Yaro, the story is legendary, you know, like Raat Bhar.
They were driving around Bombay,
driving
in the
around
morning,
Bombay,
by the morning
and,
the tune was made.
And he composed that thing on the drive, Musafir Hu Yaro, or Andhi. Just imagine what songs, 3 songs, and we forget not just the 3 songs that we remember of Andhi, there is this Qawwali, which is the ultimate political number. So when you talk about Gulzar, he is not all romance at all. I know, Salam Kijiye, Ali Janab aaye hain, ye 5 saalon ka lene hisab aaye hain. You know, like he's talking about politicians and their ways, and what a Qawwali this R.D. Burman composed. So I think between the two of them, they were in sync like anything. look at Khushbu, look at Kinara, some of the finest philosophical songs that have come from Hindi cinema, O Majhi Re, Apna Kinara, or what was the song in Kinara? जाने क्या सोचकर नहीं गुजरा एक पल रात भर नहीं गुजरा. Just look at the compositions. And these were being made in mainstream cinema. This was mainstream cinema, cinema of song and dance. Gulzar was, of course, he didn't have the sensibility of a Manmohan Desai ki teen bacche bichhad gaye aur fir giving blood to the same mother.
Blood goes from down to top.
And blood going from, of course, that's 70s, the three sons lying down and the mother lying down and the blood flowing up, but that was the 70s.
That was AI.
Yeah, that was AI. But this was like, what he did with what Gulzar and R.D. Burman did are like,
Yeah. You mentioned these songs. There was one person who was the voice of the 1970s, Kishore Kumar. I think, okay, there's no question or answer that I want to make out here. It is just a statement. There was absolutely no one. And maybe the defining point came from Tum Bin Jaun Kahan at the fag end of the 60s, where the tandem version was by Mohammad Rafi and Kishore Kumar. And that's it. There was only Kishore Kumar after that, the whole voice of the decade. And he sang for all the heroes, small and big, people who even faded out. Anil Dhawan, Guzar Jaye Din, Salil Chaudhary music, let alone for the big heroes. I think that made a big change. 70s also, if you'll agree with me, and question to both of you, there are some people whose career just ended. Naushad, finished. O.P. Nayyar, finished. Shankar Jaikishan, fade out. The ones from the old school who survived and thrived are Madan Mohan, Salil Chaudhary, and S.D. Burman. But then it was a new brigade completely taking over. Same like Raj Kapoor, end of his hero worship, and even Dilip Kumar, the Raj and DK, if I can call it that, of the 1970s. They were over. Devanand survived because of the boost he got from Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. But then also what happens, if you look at why Devanand was kept young, what gave him the evergreen image was the music of R.D. Burman and the voice of Kishore Kumar. Because he was in his late 40s in the Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. And that evergreen tag came to him because of these two personalities. Because still into the mid-50s, still if I say Bullet, which was 1976's last hit film, or Des Pardes in 1978, it was propelled along by either Kishore Kumar or R.D. Burman, or by both. So that was the power of R.D. Burman and Kishore Kumar in the 1970s. They could keep him young.
In fact, one of the defining films of that decade, a huge, colossal flop, and there's a lovely essay on it in this book, Shalimar. It was India's probably first international venture of that sort, with Gina Lollobrigida and Zinat Aman fighting it out, bitch fighting in Bombay at the launch. Who will come? So Zinat Aman making Gina wait for a couple of hours before she came in. That film was a colossal flop. Krishna Shah got wiped out. You must read the story. But till today, 50 years later, we remember each and every song of the film. And that was R.D. Burman. That was Kishore Kumar with, Hum Bewafa Hargiz Na The, or, what were the Asha Bhosle songs?
Mera Pyar Shalimar. Mera Pyar Shalimar.
One, two, cha,
One, two, cha, cha. That was
you should actually sing. He's such a wonderful singer. Like he's one of those. He's done a book on R.D. Burman, and the way he sings, and the decade wouldn't have been the decade without the music.
Yeah, can I add a point
please.
here?
Sure.
One of the songs that you mentioned.
Mike.
So I have it on. One of the songs of Gulzar and this one, Mere Saman, Mere Kuch Saman.
Mera Kuch Saman.
What a composition, what a
Yeah.
picturization.
That was, of course, 80s. Yeah.
It came
But,
80s,
yeah, it came
but
in the 80s.
the thing continues. And when you say Kishore Kumar, and then the big star, of who I was never a fan, Rajesh Khanna, he left me cold. I wonder why are so many women from teenagers to grandmothers so crazy about him. I never saw anything in him that way. Very repetitive, his Guru Kurta and, nodding head, a little bit like Devanand. But then every film of his had chartbusters sung by Kishore Kumar. Without Kishore Kumar, Rajesh Khanna wouldn't have been the
Absolutely,
star he
completely
was.
agree with you.
Without Kishore Kumar and R.D. Burman, imagine a film like Mere Jeevan Sathi. It marked the start of the decline of Rajesh Khanna. It was supposed to be a colossal hit, and 2 months before the film release, they released the music because the music was so it gained so much popularity. The film tanked, but oh mere dil ke chain, oof.
The other thing about 70s is sex and the 70s. You know, starting from Rehana Sultan's famous leg split in Chetna to Neetu Singh's implied sexual gestures in Lekar Hum Deewana Dil, or in the
Dastak, in fact, Dastak.
Dastak, and in the drug den, and I'm not even talking about Hare Rama Krishna, I'm talking about Naya Zamana. You see the graffiti like "Be Sexy" or "Eat Me," or even in the Mere Jeevan Sathi, you know, the title song, which is uncredited, Pancham, it says, "He is a sexy playboy." Now, did the censors miss all this, or was it a sign of maturing censorship?
I think it's a mix of both. I think there was, westernization was being accepted. So it's not just dress and demeanor and the way a Zina Taman or a Parveen Babi carried herself. I think it filters down into a response to the unsaid there. Because westernization also meant sort of glamour that was sexual, very sexual in its nature. So I think so that it's like a filtering effect down even to the, I think, censors. And then if you see, and then also in the parallel cinema, you see in Ankur, you see Shabana Azmi getting out of the bed, and then she's just tying up her, hair. And so it's, the physical intimacy is implied over there.
Yeah.
If you see Nishant, there is so much of overt sexuality. So I think that influenced, because you can't pass those films without censorship and then come down heavily on mainstream cinema.
Exactly.
I think the censors were more sensible and sensitive
True.
at that point, I think.
Yeah, and in the 70s, it was the only decade where a film like Havas was actually possible. Just go and watch this for the guilty pleasures. There's a essay by Sriram Raghavan on the guilty pleasures of that era. Just read that, watch. Actually, to have Bindu as a main character, she's the heroine of the film, and she's a nymphomaniac, who is seducing the guy who is betrothed to her daughter. It's, of course, Graduate had come before, but this was risk in the different
decade.
Yeah, and between Dastak and Rehana Sultan's. What was the film that
Chetna.
Chetna. It was, and Chetna is a very good film. That's like we tend to dismiss that film, saying that acha wo, because of that, it was a tremendous marketing campaign. Just imagine the poster.
Yeah, the poster is
but actually
scandalous.
Yeah,
in fact.
actually, if you watch the film, it's about a girl who says, "Okay, I am like this. I'm going to smoke and drink. I'm a prostitute. I don't have any. I'm not going to apologize. Agar if you are in love with me, you are in love with me. I am the way I am. I'm going to be the way I am." It's a huge statement for a generation, for an era where heroines were supposed to be one kind. You had a certain heroine you took to your mother. Ye ladki mujhe pasand hai. That film actually made a different statement altogether, and it was the 70s, much before all of this engagement with alternative things started happening.
Yeah, and yeah.
I just want to say, Bia
Sure.
Ishara is a unrecognized master
Yeah.
of his age.
Exactly.
The kind of the two films that he made. Dastak also was Rajendra Singh Bedi making the film, a very well-known writer doing that. So I think that's why the 70s had room for all kinds of cinema.
70s also brought the Bombay back into motif. Bombay, the action was back in Bombay. A lot of the films were based in Bombay. Okay, first question to you and to you. Which filmmaker, in your opinion, made Bombay live and breathe on screen in the 1970s? You had Marine Drive, you had Chowpatty, you had
Yeah.
Versova, you had Khandala and
And you also had those warehouses where the fights took place.
Yeah.
For me, it was
Mahalakshmi Dockyard.
Yes, it was Diwar.
It was, no, which filmmaker, if I ask you?
I know Yash Chopra
Yash
made all his
Chopra.
romantic films in Delhi.
Delhi.
And of course, the Tulips of Amsterdam and all that. But Diwar, I think, is his finest
Oh, okay.
film. And so, and also Ramesh Sippy for Shakti. These
Okay.
are the two
Yeah.
filmmakers and films.
Shantanu,
that
your
we-
answer?
Yeah, you see, just to give context,
Acha,
what
we
happened-
have 5 minutes left and we can give some time for the audience questions. So maybe.
60s Hindi cinema had gone to the hills, all those Kashmir ki Kalis and An Evening in Paris and all of that. 70s, it came back to Bombay, and I think the one filmmaker who made that difference, who made Bombay come alive, was Basu Chatterjee.
Absolutely.
Like in films like Rajnigandha and Piya Ka Ghar, you get middle class lived reality of Bombay like nothing else, like
Yeah.
no other. It's only later in the 90s with Satya, you get a entirely different kind of Bombay. But
was Basu Chatterjee, completely.
Basu Chatterjee. Rim Jhim Gire Sawan. Just imagine that song.
Piya Ka Ghar.
Piya Ka Ghar. Rim Jhim-
Choti Si Baat.
Yeah. And,
Rajnigandha.
Rajnigandha. And those, clerks and office executives going about their daily lives, So I think that was another aspect of the
Absolutely. Now, I know audience will have some questions about the 70s. I'll take a few questions, as many as I can in the next 5 minutes. Yes, sir.
Because of the menace of OTT and the way that it is spoiling a single theater song all over the India and normally only the
will be surviving.
Yeah, you could. Maybe you could write a book, sir. Yeah, next question.
I think it's a process of development, like when in the 60s, 70s, when in the 80s, the video cassettes and the videos came, there was a paradigm shift in the way we were making films. OTT and multiplexes in the 1990s shifted the game. Now, post-pandemic, yeah.
Web series. Yeah, next question. Sure.
While I think Rajesh Khanna played a very tragic character, a lot of it was in the songs. And so I think that reverberates even today with me, what you said.
Absolutely.
That the song made Rajesh Khanna what he was in the film. But that being said, I wanted to ask you people, in the context of the 70s, which is what you've spoken about, and if you look at Bollywood today, by which I'm not really talking about this post-COVID kind of a phase, but let's say up to 5 years ago or 6 or 7 years ago, there's obviously been an evolution of Bollywood. What strands of the 70s, in your view, persist, even in today's Hindi films? And in what respects do you see the maximum divergence?
I can maybe take that.
Like Vishal Bharadwaj and also Anurag Kashyap. Anurag Kashyap, you see Dev D.
Yeah.
The music is never picturized on them. It's a separate track that adds a different context and a dimension to the film. And another difference I find in the present, the 20s and even the 20th century, when the millennials come, there is a more autonomy is being given to our heroines.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
there is, think of a Vidya Balan and think of Kangana Ranaut before she went crazy. But, so we had films that had women-centric, modern women. They represent a very small segment of our society maybe, but they are working, they know what they want. Think of a film like Gehraiyan with, with Deepika playing that kind of a role. It just couldn't be thought of earlier.
Exactly.
It could be set in Manhattan or it could be set in Mumbai,
Right.
That kind of a thing. That kind of storytelling has come in. And language, I find that we had Bambaya or we had Punjabified Hindi or we had Delhi Hindi. But now you go to the small towns, you have different dialects of Hindi coming into Hindi cinema.
Gangs of Wasepur, tumse na ho paega.
Excuse me, as we are
Okay, and
running
that will be
out
the
of time,
maybe final
this
question.
should be the last
or-
question.
Okay,
This
last
is going to
question.
be the
Rest of
last
the questions we can take in the lobby.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention about the new wave cinema, which was very popular during my youth and Arun's youth. We had all grown up seeing those films of Nasiruddin Shah, Shabana Azmi, Om Puri, and films directed by Shyam Benegal and Mrinal Sen. So that age has completely died down in the film world. Probably it is due to post-liberalization, the liberal economy, the economic changes, all that, and the new urban class which has grown up.
Okay, so what's your question? Can you come to
The
the question?
question is, there's a clear loss of innocence. Can it be revived?
I think it's evolution. Like Gulzar Saab actually said to me once that in today's generation, you can't have a love where people are texting and sexting. You can't have actually two lovers saying, "Main Ganga ki mauj, tu Jamna ki dhara," or somebody singing, "Main tulsi tere aangan ki, na tulsi hai na aangan hai." So I think it's a evolution.
I think it's gone. Okay, a final quiz question as we wrap up. Anyone who answers this will get a copy of the book free. Thunder and lightning, flashing. क्या इश्क ने समझा है? Can someone complete this? क्या इश्क ने समझा है? क्या हुस्न ने जाना है? Okay, then next sentence. Okay, I'll give you the second sentence. Now, can you tell me where you see it? क्या इश्क ने समझा है, क्या हुस्न ने जाना है, हम खाक नशीनों की ठोकर में ज़माना है. That was 70s. And then what starts? What do you see? Anyone answering this? Or I'll have to keep the book with me. This was a standard Nasir Hussain entry in every film. In the beginning of every film, you see this. Yadon ki Barat. Teesri Manzil. Yeah, Teesri Manzil. Every film you have this banner. So the book stays with me, but you can pick up your copy at the bookstore. Thank you so much for being here.
Please pick up your copy of the book. I think you'll enjoy. And thank you all so much for
It
being
was indeed an